Right, we're live. If anyone comes through here, because we're in the mix zone, in the bowels of Wembley Stadium, we're tiny. We're waiting for all the players to turn up because Warrington Wolves have won the Challenge Cup, as predicted by, you, I think. That was it.
Before we get started, I've heard some troubling news on the internet that there's a deep fake video going around of all of us predicting Saints to win it and saying that Warrington had no chance from earlier. I'd just like to say that is fake news.
Fake news. I mean, all the great people in the world who say things like fake news, Donald Trump, Andrew Chalmers. Yeah.
I asked Gary Schofield's advice on who was going to win this game, and that's why I tipped St Helens by 18.
And I'd just like to say there is a huge serving of humble pie being delivered to the media as we speak.
Andy, get in, never in doubt. Correct, Warrington were the best side for the 80 minutes. Well, no, yeah, for the 80 minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was never in doubt, because if the try had been given at the very beginning that perhaps should have been, that might have changed the complexion of the game. What I will say is Warrington were magnificent in dealing with the absence of Blake Austin, played more as a team than relying on one individual, and that alone means that they deserve to win.
I thought it was in doubt.
Had a Warrington player, so although we might not have all got it right, that shows you how dominant they were.
Who's going to be nominated to go to tell Warrington who we want to speak to? Before
everybody, they've just won the cup.
Well, other media organisations will probably get everyone everywhere because they'll Go on, Gemma, you do us a favour, Gemma. Who do we want to speak to?
Everyone. Back in the day, you didn't have to ask.
There was a stat on Twitter about St Helens losing 17 semi-finals and finals in the last 12 years. Do we now think that they are not nailed on certain to win the grand final, in which case there's been a double whammy with this performance from Warrington?
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't think they were nailed on to win it anyway. I've got this sneaky suspicion about Wigan, and this only strengthens it for me because, you know, they seemed nervy. I mean, you talked about them, the only team that can beat Saints is themselves. I don't think that was quite the case today. I think that would undermine how great Warrington were. They were brilliant. But there was certainly an element there, I thought, where Saints got behind and then, I mean, the amount of errors that they were pressing it, the timing was off. They looked a nervy side that had just the occasion had sort of got to them.
They actually started really well though. They were making breaks. They were finding gaps. You know, I think there was a couple of try-saving tackles, one from Toby King and I think one from Bernard Masilla. And then after that, they just, you know, it's just too much drop ball, and Warrington defended like their lives depended on it. It was outstanding.
The number of times that Saints got caught on the last time was very un-Saints-like.
Yeah.
Turned the ball over, admittedly within the Warrington 10-metre line, didn't pose enough questions. I don't know, and no doubt we'll ask the question. Was Lachlan Coote fit?
Well, I don't know.
So he's focused all week on was Blake Austin going to play.
Whether he was fit or not, he didn't look like a player who hadn't played for a little while. Yeah. I think at least you could say that.
I don't blame one person, but was he symptomatic of why Saints played?
He had a very bad game, didn't he? And there's no doubt that he's an absolute key player for them, and a lot goes through him, and it wasn't working for him today, was it?
But actually, what we should be talking about is Warrington.
Exactly. Yeah.
Darryl Clark, worthy man of the match.
Yes,
I thought so.
I mean, I voted for Stephen Ratchford, but Darryl Clark was.
Was that because the papers were collected just before?
No. I think Ratchford obviously played at fullback, but basically played two positions. He was the 6. He kicked mostly on the last. He mopped up everything back. I don't think he made an error. You know, he defended. I think he might have been Farge. He saved one try when he made that break. He was just phenomenal. But Darryl Clark as well. I mean, that obviously the match-sealing try, but to stop Grace in the corner just goes to show what a competitor he is.
There was a tackle earlier, wasn't there? Was it Lomax? Really hitting ball and all, and just sort of Absolutely,
he's just a freak. I mean, we saw that at the Warrington event we were at the other week, and his stats. He's just literally a freak of nature.
That came to the fore today when I said pre-match about it's going to be one hell of a defensive effort, and are they going to be able to keep that going in this heat?
Yeah,
and they did, it was incredible. All the more incredible for that.
Covering at stand-off, played like an extra forward, but just made sure that it wouldn't be broken down in the middle.
Jack Hughes as well. I mean, very injured and sore testicle, but he still threw himself into everything.
Yeah, I thought Murdoch Masilla
Yeah.
I think when he was on the field, it was really good.
Yeah. Joe Philbin off the bench.
Joe Philbin had it. Instant impact, really, didn't he?
Fantastic. Yeah. And I have to say that I thought Bryson Goodwin for his defensive contribution was magnificent, not least stopping Makinson in the corner, which very few people have done.
Absolutely.
That was another turning point. I mean, 9 times out of 10 St Helens scored those. You know, Makinson's one of the best finishers in world rugby, but just the pure effort and the will to get there and make that happen, that's what wins you big games, and that was the case today.
I suppose we have to mention the decision at the start and how different the game could have been if that had been given. I guess we'll never know how it would have turned out from that. That was Saints will look back on that, I think, what could have been.
They didn't build on it, though.
But no.
That's to the credit of Warrington.
Absolutely, and Saints didn't deserve to win today. Simply put, yes, that went against them, but they weren't good enough. Warrington were brilliant.
I think I haven't seen the final stats, but they would have made at least 15 or more errors, and their set completion was probably no higher than 70%. You're not really going to win any games when you implode like that, and Warrington just defensively just would not yield.
Yeah, there didn't seem to be much of a structure to the end of the sets. They didn't really seem to build any pressure or intend to sort of turn the screw on Warrington. And Warrington were really out of it in the last 20 minutes. They really struggled to get out of their own half. But
because it did so much work to get them up the right end of the field.
Absolutely.
I think we'll go and try and find out what Justin Holbrook's got to say. But we're all here in sackcloth and ashes because of the performance from Warrington.
They were super.
Well, Louise says Schofield, not Scoey, Schofield should apologise for calling Ben Murdoch Masilla lazy. That was far from a lazy performance yet again from the powerhouse. He deserved that try, scoring for a second successive year at Wembley.
Absolutely.
Up until the point.
Not
It's
lazy
all about
at
the
all.
stats.
Not lazy
It's all
at
about
all.
the money ball.
But anything Scully says, we don't take any notes.
No, he talked nonsense, doesn't he?
Now, of course, he said if Warrington won, or if Saints lost, in his words, he would face a ball from Joshua Archer. I'm not sure he'll be able to sort that out, but we need to get onto the Yorkshire Cricket School, to get the indoor cricket school, to get him face the bowling machine.
You better not tell him that Archer's not from England.
It's that, or he wouldn't wear a T-shirt with Doug Lawton's head on it, which tells you, I think, more about Scoey than it does about anyone else in the world. He'll be not in the royal box. I don't know. Will he be happy? Johnny Vegas in the royal box? He'll be happy to see Alex Murphy. Stuart Pearce was up there. Tony Adams. Yeah, with Martin Afai on the
Looking
telly.
resplendent in his white suit.
He looks like he could still play.
He can pass off a white suit like Liverpool football couldn't.
I think he had that white suit on at Anfield, actually, at Magic. Special suit for big days.
I think he's probably got more than one suit.
Probably a few, Probably a few more than me, that's for sure.
We might be back after the 1895 Cup final. It depends on what happens. I know it's just about to kick off between 10 minutes rather, kicking off late between Widnes and Sheffield, which is great news. We hopefully will have later on, coming up on social media, Joe Philbin and Chris Hill. But if we don't, then I've lied. Darryl Clark's in the presser, so we won't get him. So stay tuned to 40. I think are we done? Are we done? Anything else?
The scandal coming out of the press conferences will be straight back up.
So thank you very much for joining us in the mix zone, the tunnel, glamorous area of Wembley, and we'll be back later. Yeah, I mean, we're not politicians. Predictions.
What's wrong?